Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, and we're going to discuss, should I wait before we get a divorce? Hi, welcome back. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and the topic, should I wait before we get a divorce, is a really excellent topic. And I'm going to help you through this. I'm going to give you reasonably great information that's going to give you a lot to think about. And I'm going to give you some things that you can actually do. Now, I encountered this question many, many years ago when a friend of mine's wife called me, discreetly, of course, and said, Paul, I want to leave David, and I am not sure how it's going to affect their daughter. And so I said, well, it's ironic that you would be calling me about this because literally we just went through all of the statistics that affect children of divorce. And I let her know that the problems that their daughter would have because they get a divorce are astronomical. And by all means, if you have kids, don't get a divorce. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that they waited. Well, she waited. He didn't even know it was coming. And they ended up working through all their problems. Now, granted, I gave her my book, Breaking the Cycle, which really helped her gain a completely different perspective about her marriage. And she was able to rework the relationship that they had, and everything worked out for them. Now, what if you don't have kids? And what if you didn't get my book yet? What if you're not interested in reading my book? Then what's really going on is waiting without doing something is not going to do any good at all. Because the reason your marriage is not working correctly, and this is not to insinuate that there's something wrong with you or anything like that, because the truth of the matter is, and you know this, over 50% of all people who get married in the West get a divorce. Why? Why is it so high? Can you imagine if there was something affecting people, some disease, that over 50% of the people died, how much attention it would get, and rightfully so? I mean, look what happened with polio. You're probably way too young, but you get a polio shot. When I was a kid, we used to get polio shots. They just came out because so many kids were being affected by the polio virus or bacteria. I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. But they came up with, Dr. Salk came up with the Salk vaccine, and no one gets polio when they get that vaccine because the entire country got behind healing this problem. Yet here we are, and people die when they get a divorce. Most die inside from a divorce. But there's a part of us that is lost forever when we get a divorce. Let's think this through. Now, I'm giving you all this information because I want you to do something about your marriage, and you can. I'm not giving you all this information to make you feel, oh my God, it's all over, da, 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 it's never going to work. I might as well become a monk or a nun and go live by myself as a hermit. No, you actually can individually heal your marriage, whether you are a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. And what I finally came to, by the way, let me back up a little. Until 2001, I was a divorce mediator. And as a divorce mediator, people came to me who had gone through marriage counseling. And the marriage counselor pronounced their marriage beyond repair. And then in 2001, a couple asked me to help them save their marriage instead of dissolve it and take it to court and all. And I took my time to get into marriage from a very different perspective than that which we are traditionally hit with, which is Western psychological thinking. And I started with a question, why do we get married in the first place? And I didn't have that question right off the tip of my tongue. And honestly, when I came up with that question, I was shocked that I never asked myself, why am I getting married in the first place? Yeah, you fall in love, but why get married? And the simple answer is the most amazing answer, because we want to be happy. Great, no problem. Where am I going with this? So once you get married, what are you now doing from the moment you decide to get married? What are you doing to create more happiness between the two of you? And the answer is nothing. In the beginning, you take care of one another emotionally and psychologically, you might say, and you care about how they're feeling and what's going on. But it's not long before killer number one comes in. What is killer number one? You know, for my first book, which was Lessons for a Happy Marriage, I listed 3 killers of marriage. Now there's 4, and I also put them in my online courses. And the online courses are set up for individuals. The books are great regardless of your gender. But if you're a man, you need the online course for men. If you're a woman, the online course for women, because it goes much deeper than the books. And killer number 1, I wanted to identify, why do people get a divorce? And that was pretty easy for me because I was a divorce mediator until 2001. The number 1 killer I call overfamiliarity. What does that mean? It means that you're together all the time and you start taking each other for granted. You're not as considerate as you were when you first got together. I mean, think about it. Usually what happens is when you first get together, your heart's aflame, your soul's on fire for each other, and you go out of your way to show your very best attributes. Now, is that false? No, it is not, because we have those attributes, which are our best attributes, and we also have the negative ones, and we don't expose those, and there's nothing wrong with not exposing those. But when we start feeling comfortable with each other, we start saying things and doing things that we really shouldn't be saying and doing. You fell in love with this person, either your husband or your wife, for reasons. And they're reasons of the heart, not of the mind. And so what happens is, the mind, of course, comes into play, and we start taking each other for granted, and we start saying things and doing things that are not good for the relationship, not good for each other, not good for ourselves. And we're going, okay, this isn't working out. Wonder why I even married this person, right? All these things start coming up. And so if now you decide, maybe he's right, maybe this guy Paul Friedman has a point, and I'm going to wait and see what happens, you're still going to fail. You can't just wait and see what happens. You have to put off the idea of divorce. You have to understand that there's a number of things that you're doing wrong, and you don't know what they are. We're not taught about marriage. We're not taught about ourselves. We're not taught about, if you're a man, we're not taught about women. If you're a woman, you're not taught about men. It's funny. I worked with hundreds hundreds of men, hundreds of women, and the men always had the same thing to say. Every single one of them said, you know, you don't understand, my wife is crazy. I love her, but she's crazy. And I mean, after a while, I started to just smile, and I said, you know what? I've heard this before. And women think my husband is just not that smart. He just doesn't get me. And I understand that because men do not see women the way they should. Men do not understand women as a woman is, only as the woman is affecting them. So there's a lot to learn. And I promise you, if you commit yourself to studying about marriage, studying about each other, and use the teachings that I have, I mean, they didn't just pop into my head one morning. It took 8 years to get everything straightened out, get it clear, get the way to communicate it, and all of that. If you study marriage now, you're going to not just save your marriage, not just put the idea of divorce off the table, but you're going to end up having the greatest marriage imaginable. Why? Well, I use this analogy. If I gave you a beautiful car, like a top of the line car, like a Rolls Royce, okay? And you said, oh boy, and you got behind the wheel, but you really didn't know how to drive, and you didn't have a chauffeur, and you drove that car off-road, you go, what the heck is wrong with this car? Because it's not designed to be off-road. You're using the car incorrectly. And so everyone's using their marriage incorrectly. And they don't know. They don't understand. And the same is true for you. It was also true for me. Now, there's other parts to this too. It's not just about the marriage. You have to understand about marriage, but you also have to understand about yourself. Let me give you an example, because this is universal for both genders. One of the keys to having a great marriage is understanding that the thoughts that you have are habitual thoughts. And so when your wife or your husband says something, because of this property of the mind that stores reactions, do you understand what I mean by that? In other words, the mind and its subconscious part says, okay, if this happens to me, I react this way. And long ago, we'd never think about what that reaction actually means or why we have it. It's just a reaction. It's reactive. And maybe one day there was a really good reason for it, but in a situation, we don't identify that reason at all. We just go along with it, and we end up hurting each other. We hurt our spouse, and we hurt ourselves. Because when our spouse is hurt, we're tied to this human being. You're one. And so if they're hurt, you're hurt. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? So it's an example of all that you have to learn in order to have a really high-functioning marriage, and not just one that you're enduring. You know, you see so many of these instances when people have been married for a really long time and people are congratulating them and they're saying, wow, that's really impressive. You've been married 50 years, 60 years. How do you do it? And the husband says, and the wife goes, they don't really know. They just started their marriage with the intention of getting to the end of it, but they're not experiencing the great benefit of marriage, which is love, harmony, connection. Marriage is intended to be so beautiful that you almost can't take it. It's like walking on air. And that's the truth. You see, the very basis of marriage, you already know, is love. Yes, you got married to be happy, but you didn't think it through. You didn't go, well, I want to be married, so to be happy. You didn't do that. I fell in love. The second part doesn't come up, so I will be happy. But then you don't do what it takes to make each other happy. But if you start learning how that works, even love, we don't understand love. You know, you look, go ahead and Google love. I dare you to. You know what you're going to find? It's an increased form of like. Nonsense. You experienced love. And it's not up in the head where you like something more and more and more. Actually, most things that we like, we end up getting used to and we don't really care for it anymore after a while. But love is a very spiritual domain. Love is of the heart. It's of the soul. Hence the term soulmates. And so when you learn to love each other in the right way, to cultivate that love, to move the mind out of the way of the love, when you learn how to catch yourself being an idiot, because we all do that from time to time, and when you start focusing on being who we actually told our spouse we would be to them, I will love you forever. I will always put you ahead of me. When was the last time you put your husband or your wife ahead of yourself? You hear what I'm saying? It's like we make these promises, and I remember the old Mary Poppins movie. They're pie crust promises. Easily made, easily broken. But you have to know that you can make these promises and keep these promises when you understand. Marriage is complicated. It's not simple. Sure, it's simple and easy to say, will you marry me? Or, yes, I will marry you. You're feeling that love, that energetic love that is carrying you, carrying the day. Ain't enough. It's not enough. You have to understand it. You have to be able to drive your marriage to the constant destination of indescribable love and happiness. So should you wait to get a divorce? Definitely. Now that you've come across this video, I've given you really compelling reasons, especially if you have kids. Please do not get a divorce. Even if you hate each other, blah, 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 don't get a divorce. But don't live that way. Either read one of my books, which will help you, but if your marriage is really hanging on by a thread, go further and take the online course. By the way, we made these courses really affordable. Less than $10 a week for one plan. Less than $10 a week. You can do that. And it's going to help you have the marriage you've always imagined that you should have. So I do hope that this video helped you. There's a comment section below. There's links there, and you should take a look, because in those links, we have a Ask a Counselor link. It's free. We have a link for a free course. It's a short course. It's only 10 days. It comes in 3 parts, but it'll give you a real deep sense. And one is for men and one is for women. And then we also have a link to the website so you could sign up for the 3-day free trial. I forgot to mention that if you take the online course, you get a free trial for 3 days, and you'll see how much is there. It's really a lot. It's amazing. And in the comment section, you could ask me a question, and I'll give you an answer. And we could communicate even back and forth if you need the help. Look, we're here. This is a nonprofit. I'm way past old enough to retire. I'm doing this as a service. I don't want to see you get a divorce. I don't want to see your children suffer. I don't want to see your world break apart. I want to see you happy. So if this is useful for you, subscribe so you can get more of these videos. Leave a comment, share it. Share this video too, and like it if you want to. Again, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. I'm so glad you stopped by. God bless you. Stay in touch and take care.